Welcome, everybody. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will call the meeting to order. We have the agenda in front of us. Are there additions or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 7A on the old agenda, survey update, we're not going to do because Ryan's out sick. And we are adding a project update from Austin with ICS just before the Highway Department.
Okay. All right, is there a motion?
I'll move to accept the amended agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Shar. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. Public input. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none. Consent agenda. Are there any additions to the consent agenda or corrections or questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Ted.
One second.
Thank you, Dave. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. County employee recognition.
Good morning.
Morning.
For county employee recognition today in the Auditor Treasurer's Department, we have Jane Stanky, payroll coordinator, began the full-time position on December 5th. Denise Lowen, executive assistant, is recognized for service from August 2nd, 2021 to December 23rd, 2025.
Mike, it's not funny too.
And in Human Services, Callie Oschlager, social worker, began the full-time position on December 2nd. And now for 2025 Annual Service Awards. For 5 years of service, we have Mark Adams in Information Technology, Mike Batcher in Human Resources, Arlene Breitweiser in Solid Waste, Demi DeJong in Environmental Services, Miranda Hopkins in Human Services, Nathan Kiesel, Sheriff's Department, Sarah Kraus in Human Services, Andrew Cray in the Sheriff's Department, Lauren Nave in Human Services, David Pietola in Sheriff's Department, Amelia Stanfell in Human Services, Carrie Stock in Human Services, and Courtney Villeneuve in the Sheriff's Department. In 10 years of service, we have Jerry Bierke in Veteran Services, Christine Cook in the Sheriff's Department, Judith Delp in Facilities Management, Jonathan Dickinson in Solid Waste, Tiffany Fletcher in Human Services, Jessica Iwan in Human Services, Craig Kritzek in the Sheriff's Department, Brent Lindenfelser in the Sheriff's Department, Karina May in Human Services, Rita Merschman in Human Services, Nicholas Opsahl in the Sheriff's Department, and Nicholas Simon in the Highway Department. And with 15 years of service, we have Sharon Blair in the Sheriff's Department, Robert Collins in Human Services, Kathy Melvin in Human Services, Renee Olson in the Highway Department, and with 20 years of service, we have Jared Anderson in the Sheriff's Department, Eric Beitenwerf in Environmental Services, Carice Goldberg Cummins in Property Records, Nancy Mitchell in Human Services, Alfred Opsel in the Highway Department, and Heather Zacher in the Sheriff's Department. With 25 years of service, we have Roxanne Yolnimi Nelson in Human Services. And with 35 years of service, we have Corey Akis from the Sheriff's Department.
The other items on county employee recognition that I want to highlight was a challenge issued by Commissioner Christensen last year to make sure that we were recognizing people for service awards through the Association of Minnesota Counties. So this year, we submitted 2 outstanding service awards, an outstanding service award and an outstanding county achievement award. And we recognized Jerry Bierke for his service to Hubbard County and his service to veterans. And we recognized the office's achievement in getting the Atlas program up and running, the second one in the state, I believe. Unfortunately, these were not selected to be recognized at the national conference last week, but they're very worthy and very impactful here in our community, and we'll continue to submit applications recognizing the work of our employees.
Okay, the CHI Health Manager.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. My name's Tori. I am replacing, if that's possible, Marley Morrison as the Community Health Manager. Thank you for letting me be here today. It's nice to meet all of you. I did not prepare a PowerPoint. If I am supposed to, I will do that in the future. But I wanted to talk just a little bit about the programs that we have and the families that we're serving. Our evidence-based home visiting, we have currently 15 families in the Park Rapids area with children 3 years or younger. We are very, very proud. Our WIC coordinator, I couldn't get the exact number this morning. We were having technology issues, but we have roughly 700 people that we're serving with our WIC program, so women, infant, and children. Our Prime West case management, we have right around 90 people that we're serving with that. Some wins, we had a huge shipment of car seats delivered through Prime West and Blue Plus, as well as some grant car seats, and we are giving away on average about 2 a week and teaching families how to install those safely. We've expanded our foot care clinic to an additional location to be able to reach more seniors. We do have plans to grow our child and teen checkup outreach. We got a new coordinator, which is me. Nice to meet you. And as I get my feet under me, we're really excited to see where this year takes us.
I just have a brief question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the car seat program, I don't know, you really don't have a track history here, but do you know if that demand has increased since the law has changed about how long children have to remain in a car seat? Do either of you?
I can't speak to that, but
Okay.
I can get that answer back to you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So we'll schedule you for regular updates when we do have topics to cover and after we have conversations about, primarily about the planning for and the use of the opioid funds coming up.
Yes.
So I know we're going to sit down and have a conversation about that.
Yes, that sounds fantastic. And we do have a meeting in January to start discussing how we are going to use the cannabis funds as well. So more to come.
Okay, all right. Does anybody have any questions for her? Seeing none? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
League of Women Voters.
Good morning, and thank you for letting me address the commissioners today. I'm Carolyn White. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters here in Park Rapids, plus the voter service chair and a few other jobs on that. But this morning, what I'd like to do is give the report on the post-election review that's required by the state. The League of Women Voters and a group called Citizens for Election Integrity in Minnesota, we're proud to be part of the post-election review process this year. The elections group has actually been doing this since 2006 when it was started. All the observers were trained in how to, in one of 3 training sessions, and at this training, we were shown how we report our observations. We had a multi-page survey to tick things off and what to look for. And we also had to subscribe to a code of conduct before we could be official observers. Bill Steen, Pat Randall, and myself were the 3 trained observers in Hubbard County. And we attended the post-election review just down the hall there. And in the statewide, there were 160 different trained observers that went to 43 different counties. The observations and analysis confirms that Minnesota elections are verifiable and accurate, and though they're through a transparent election certification process. So everybody in the state was very pleased with the statewide results. The post-election review means that every county canvassing board has to select a certain number of precincts. And in Hubbard County, that's 2 of them. And they have to balance the judges between different parties. They also have to hand count those 2 precincts for the presidential race, the U.S. Senate, and the U.S. representative race. So they've got 3 different races to count. And all the absentee ballots are also counted with the precinct at that time. So you get an accurate count, that hand count, then they ran them through the machines, and that count had to match with the hand count they just did, and it had to match with the count that came on election night. So it took a while to do that. Statewide, with the exception of a voting system issue in 2022, which meant that that county had to recount some of their ballot, another precinct, just to demonstrate the accuracy. And in 2024, there were some errors in Scott and Sherburne County that led to some recounts and a court review and things like that. The outcome of something like that does prove that our system works. It catches the glitches, it catches the problems, and we've got a way to review them. So that was a good outcome. The observers saw that all the post-election accounts were conducted fairly, clearly, above board, and we feel this strengthens the public confidence and trust in our election. Local election officials demonstrated professionalism. There were no outside disruptions or any other thing to mess up the process. The graphic that's on your agenda now is one that the League of Women Voters made up. It might be helpful for the election people and judges here to have something like that to show people what the process is in a quicker way rather than the 10 pages or so that tells the rules. What we saw in all places were the handling of the ballots and election equipment followed the strict conditions. And in conclusion, we watched the election judges hand count for accuracy in the voting process. It can sound like a very boring job. We sat there for 3.5 hours, something like that. We were on the other side of the glass so as we wouldn't get in their way, and couldn't hear all of the discussion, but most of it, they were so focused that there wasn't a lot of discussion anyway. And if there was a problem, or when they switched to different sections of what they were doing, they came out and explained it to us, so we all knew what we were watching. There was one other person that was not with the League of Women Voters that was there for a while, and that, but the three of us learned a whole lot about the whole process, and we came away with very great respect for the staff and the people that run Hubbard County elections. We were really proud of our effort there. We observed that the process was being followed in a transparent manner. We want to thank all the election officials. They've followed the statutory requirements. And as a resident of Hubbard County, I have a much better understanding of the process and have a trust in how our elections are certified. We hope that by doing this and making the report public, that our observations and report can show Minnesotans in Hubbard County especially that elections are handled with integrity. And we hope that we'll have many more observers at next year's elections, both the pre-testing for accuracy of the machines and the post-election review. And any questions or comments?
I guess one question I would have, and I don't know if you have the answer or not. Why is it only 2 precincts in the county? Is it due to population?
It's due to population. So in this, there were some of the bigger counties that I think the teams went back 2 days at least, but it's a certain percentage of your population. And this time it was, and then they picked the counties, or the precincts at random.
Okay, all right.
And they happened to pick one of the Park Rapids ones and then another township.
Okay, all right. Anybody have any questions?
I just want to say that I was a former election judge, and one thing I really appreciate is the voter turnout that we have here in Hubbard County. It's very high.
Hubbard County does a super job.
And I know in my area, which would have been Schoolcraft Township, 80-some registered voters, and you had 79 turnout the last time I was a judge.
Yeah.
So I like the amount of turnout we get.
Yeah, Hubbard County should be very proud of itself. We care about what happens on elections, and what I've seen as an election judge is that people vote the whole ballot. They don't come in for just their favorite race, mark off something and leave. They take the thing seriously for all levels of our government.
Any more questions, comments?
Yeah.
Thank you, Carolyn, for
Okay,
your
and
hard work on this.
Yeah, and we plan to do candidate forums if we've got races coming up in the next time. We usually don't do a forum if there's just one candidate. But if there's more than that, let us know who's filing and when, and we'll get those organized for everybody. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to a project update.
Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good week. So just here this morning to give just a general project update with the construction project. So again, I'll go through the update, what's upcoming, and take a peek at the schedule as well, and then I'll open up for any questions at the end of it. All right, so starting with the Government Center Level 1, so Phase 1A, punch list items have been substantially complete. I believe we have a couple more left to be rectified, which will be done this week, but the county has moved in and began occupying this space. So with that being said, we have now transitioned to Phase 1B, so site demolition has commenced in that space. At the Law Enforcement Center, the renovations, Unit C, Phase 1A, the CMU was completed, detention frames were all installed, and the mechanical, electrical, plumbing rough-ins have continued well. At the additions, the garage and Sallyport, all slab-on grades were poured, so that was a big milestone for us. And also the overhead mechanical, electrical, plumbing, rough-ins have commenced and have been progressing well. Then as well as on the east side addition, the exterior concrete was completed for the certificate of occupancy here later or earlier next year, which included a section of the sidewalk. There's a ADA ramp coming up to the main entrance as well as an apron. That work needed to be done in order for us to turn over that space early next year. So we got that work completed. Interior framing was completed. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, rough-ins have been continuing, as well as drywall installation. And then also exterior installation has been progressing well on that side, and we're looking to be substantially completed with that this week. So I'll go through some photos here. So the first set of photos here is showing that Unit C jail cell, just showing the CMU wall that was constructed, as well as our detention frames. And this may not seem like a big deal, but this is a very critical milestone for us. The detention frames had a very long lead time. We were able to procure them in time, as well as for the entirety of the project. The units B and A, which will be happening later this next year, we got all that material, so we are ready to roll. So this was a big deal for us to knock this out. And then the next set of photos is showing the new garage and just showing the new slab on grades and the trench drains for those spaces. Jumping over to the east side, showing some interior framing and drywall being completed. And then this is showing the exterior addition at the LEC east side, showing the insulation. And then jumping over to the government center, level 1, showing that phase 1B demolition taking place. Then jumping back over to the garage in Sallyport, just showing some mechanical, electrical, plumbing reference, specifically our rain leaders. So what is upcoming? So we'll be continuing our bi-weekly project oversight committee meetings and just keep on continuing construction at the government center and the additions on both the garage and Sallyport and the LEC addition and renovations. Overall schedule, so from a renovation standpoint, level 1, so that phase 1B looking to be wrapped up April of 26th. That also includes that corridor and added scope with that carpet that we talked about a month or so back. At the lobby record sheriff's renovation, April 26th. The housing units and booking, October 26th. So next fall we'll be through the law enforcement center jail units. And then new construction, the garage in Sallyport, turning that space over in June of 2026. And the lobby records sheriff's additions, that space we're turning over early next year. Any questions?
Have there been any little changes beyond what has been brought forward?
There's been a couple of revisions just to some minor finish selections that we've been working through, but other than that, there haven't been really any more big ticket items.
So everything's going relatively smoothly?
Yeah,
So
yep.
Maybe a few delays with ordering things and so forth?
Yeah, it's just typical issues that you deal on every project, but it's nothing that we haven't seen. So a lot of the big critical items like the detention frames is obviously we can't turn over those jail cells unless we have that material, especially with installing that CMU wall. We need those frames before we even install that CMU wall. So that was really the biggest thing that we saw as a high risk that could delay the LEC, but we got that material, so now we're really starting to gain traction.
Austin, are we on time and on budget?
We are on time and on budget. Yep, everything's tracking well.
So maybe the next update, as I'm looking at the schedule, will be include an opportunity to go when we can get in and see the new lobby records and sheriff's space and see them in that space. I think that'd be the next highlight. The one approximately after that would be downstairs when the attorneys get to move back into their own space and we see what the downstairs looks like when we're finished.
I was
So-
gonna ask you if we could take a tour, just a construction update. tour.
Absolutely,
Sometime in the
yeah.
future.
We'll do board tours, or if you guys have any staff or anybody that wants to walk the space, we are more than happy to do that. Just let us know so we can coordinate and work that out with our site soup. But yes, we are more than willing to do any tours.
We'll pin that down in either February or March for a work session, depending on when we can get in there. I mean, if it's late February, then it would be March that we would do that, so.
Okay.
But I think it'd be, I think it'd be nice for you guys to see what that's gonna look like and how improved that space is gonna be for our administrative staff and particularly for the dispatch workers over there.
Because seeing the actual space is a lot different than seeing it on a piece of paper.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Any more questions, comments? Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Highway. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be gone, but a lot of emails coming back. I just have one item. I'll reschedule with Ryan for his survey update. He was not feeling the best this morning. And my final for a project. It was our district-wide striping that we did with all the counties within District 2 using HSIP money, and it was the 6-inch striping on the roads. It's project number SP 088072003. Sterlines a lot of Edina, Minnesota was our contractor, and the final payment would be $558,915.06.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Sharon.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ted.
And you're satisfied with all of the striping?
Yep, I'm satisfied. What's happened in the last 5 or 6 years is it's pretty much became a one business show. Sterlines a lot holds the majority of the striping contracts, and they do very, very good work, and we've always been very happy with them.
Thank you.
So we're doing essentially the same project, just on a smaller scale in 26 with the districts as well that we're leading to, so.
So was everything done on the time frame that was anticipated, or?
Yes, yep, we had it, we kind of left it open-ended to them because it wasn't a urgent project to get done, so we just said as long as you complete by the end of August, we'd be okay with that. And they did all the coordination. We had 5 counties involved this year, and they did all the coordinations with the other counties as their timeline. And then Hubbard County was the last, and they moved out at the end of August with our project.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye? Aye. Opposed? All right.
All right.
Motion carried.
There's no construction, so I don't have any construction updates, so in a couple weeks I'll bring some.
Did you get any serious concerns about snow plowing or?
You know, there always is comments, concerns with the first few snows that come in. I think it's not a common knowledge in terms of how sand salt actually works on the roads, that you need a specific temperature to really have that activate and to be able to melt that ice away on roads. So wind plays a huge factor into that. When you have blowing wind across a road, it reduces the temperature, which doesn't allow that sand salt to then react on the pavement. So it put a sticky situation, if you want to put it that. So it's really urging driver awareness of how they're driving. There could be patches of ice on a road, and then the next section it could be completely dry. So we do the best we can, but there is that contingency that drivers need to also take some ownership of their operations too.
Do you think in the future you're going to implement the use of brine?
We do use some brine. We mix it in right now with our sand and salt. We're not 100% liquid operation. I think we do have the potential to start using a little bit of it. It's just looking at the cost to move to that type of a system. You know, we'd have to buy the storage tanks, we'd have to buy the agitator, the brine mixer. And then where do you put it? Do you put it at all 3 shops? Do you put it in a central kind of location that all trucks can use it? And then outfitting the trucks. To outfit one truck, it's about $15,000 just to get the equipment on there. And then there is instances that you still do want that dry material to use. So it's a big, we're looking into it. Eric's really doing some research, talking to MnDOT, talking to other counties who use it. I don't think we'll ever fully go to a brine system just because of the cost of it, but I think there is application that we could use it more.
Yeah, I think SWCDs have money available for programs like that it might be another source to tap into to help augment some of the funding, so.
Yeah, we've been talking to them too, and I think they outfitted 2 of our trucks with the system, but again, it's that blending system, not a pure liquid operation of it.
I don't know if I'm 100% sold on it. People still need to be responsible with their driving habits, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Some counties have moved towards it, some haven't. Cass, I know, did. They got some tanks from, used ones from MnDOT, and then they had severe issues with those tanks. They had to replace a lot of parts and whatnot, so the salt really corrodes, and you gotta really take that into account too, of what that does to your equipment. It almost speeds up the replacement need on those trucks because of the corrosion on them.
Well, I don't ever want to get to the point that we're like the MnDOT, where it's straight salt every time and a
no.
lot of it, so.
Yeah, they put a lot out.
Yeah,
It's-
I don't
it's
think,
really hard on the environment and all the vehicles that travel on it every single day.
yeah, I personally don't want that, just because I don't want a rust
And
bucket of a car.
once you start
but-
putting salt down, you have to use it for the rest of the season. There's no getting away from it.
Right, right.
So you live
Yeah.
by the salt, you die by the salt. mean,
I
it's
think we
just-
might look at it more of a, like a ADT, a traffic volume on roads, in terms of where we are using that application versus just going across the board with it. If we have roads like County 4 that has a very high traffic volume, we might try to veer towards that route a little more, but the lower volumes where it's more cost effective just to keep our operation as is, we'll just continue with the sand salt.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Natural resources.
Hi, morning. Let's see, the first item I have is to review and approve 14 timber sales that the natural resource managers have set up for the January 5th, 2026 timber auction. It'll be here in the court, or the boardroom here, at 9 o'clock in the morning. And the appraised value of the sale is $219,525. And this will be the first of 4 auctions for the year. We're kind of moving back to normal timber after all the blowdown sales. There are a few on this one, just we're probably gonna keep finding it for the next 5 years, more blowdown up there, but,
This seems like a little bit smaller sale. Is it because?
it's because of the
blowdown?
price, but hopefully they get bid up to normal values and,
Okay.
we'll see some pretty higher prices, but, yeah, looking to get them approved. No, we had no issues with landowners, adjacent landowners, so, looking for approval to sell them on the 5th of January.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Ted. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
Okay, thank you.
I do like seeing the little comments like, frozen ground or.
Oh, yeah, yep,
That
yep.
the managers are at least
Sure.
putting a lot of
Yeah.
consideration into when and how things are harvested.
Yep, and when I
Appreciate
came here, I kinda wanted to see a little more, so hopefully everyone can kinda understand each sale a little bit,
Yeah, well, it's
little
kinda
bit more.
nice- It's kinda nice to see that on there because then if someone calls us and say, oh, they're just totally trashing the forest,
Sure.
then
Yeah.
at least, we can refer back to it and say, hey, you know what, the documents say that this
Sure,
is allowed
yep.
or this isn't, so.
Yep, for sure.
So thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
that.
you, yeah. Next item is to approve a resolution to increase the Parks Board committee member per diem from $50 to $75. It's been set at 50 for several years that I know of. With inflation and cost of living, I guess, and some of these meetings go on for an hour and a half, and it takes some people an hour to drive to these meetings. Like from Farden Township, there's one person up there, there's one way over by Akeley, and it just makes sense to me, I guess, as a department head to raise it a little bit more for them to be a little bit more respectful to them to spend their time to come to these meetings. So, looking for approval to raise it from $50 to $75 a meeting.
Was all this accounted for in your budget proposal?
Yes, yep. Yeah, and we're usually under budget, or, yeah, we don't get near what we budget for this on, 'cause,
Okay.
and then, we haven't been meeting 2 or 3 months throughout the winter, just because there's not much to talk about, but, so yes, it is.
It's
It'll
been
be fine.
At 50 since I was on 7 years ago, so when I first came on.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly appreciate their commitment to attend the meetings and participate.
And with Deep Lake, there's a lot of commitment with approvals and, taking in information from them, and, yeah, so it is a little bit more commitment than I think it used to be, so,
And it will be more in the future.
yeah,
I'm
for sure, yep,
Lake
yep,
Park coming up, yeah.
yeah, yep.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Char. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, motion carried.
All right, thank you. And the last one is another resolution, or many resolutions, I guess, to review and approve these resolutions to continue to act as the fiscal sponsor for local recreational clubs. Like the last meeting, we sponsor, I mentioned as, with the Two Inlet Snowmobile Club and the Itasca Tour Ski Club, we sponsor them just to make sure they're maintaining the trails correctly, so the money passes through the county from the state. We approve that payment if they're managing the trails correctly and maintaining to a safe manner. So the 4 clubs I have on this agenda are the Northwoods Trail Riders OHV Club, the Forest Riders ATV Club, the Timberland Dirt Devils ATV Club, and the Paul Bunyan Forest Riders OHM Club. We've sponsored these entities for many years, and I would recommend we continue to sponsor them. So,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ted. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Just a question. When people comment on trails, positive or negative, does it come directly to you, or do most of
Sometimes.
the people contact these organizations?
the best thing is to contact these organizations, but if they do contact me, I'll call the organization and just let them know. And once in a while, we'll help. If there's a big rut that needs to be filled in, I'll go up there with a skid steer and help smooth it out. But sometimes these are all volunteers too, so they don't have all the time in the world. So if they need help, if with a small project, we'll go up and help them out. But most of the time, they take care of it and do a pretty good job.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you. Yep.
Speaking of trails, has Itasca Tour started doing grooming ski trails in Deep Lake?
They haven't. I'm hoping they do soon. The lake should have plenty of ice now. We have the 4-wheeler with tracks up there ready to go. It's all plowed out. So yeah, I think we were gonna get a hold of the club this week and see if they can, what their timing is. If I need a trail or something for them, I'll do that, and we'll get it taken care of, so.
Corey, were you able to put a sign up off of 4 so people know where to turn in?
Yeah, I do have signs, but we'll get one put up. It says Deep Lake Park. Wasn't sure if we can put that up yet, but I think it'll be okay. Yeah, we'll definitely get something put up.
Yeah, and I would say just coordinate with Highway.
Yeah.
To have them pounded in.
Sure.
It's still not frozen.
No, and
too
we
hard
have-
to do that.
We have some signs too,
Might
or
take a
posts
little
too
longer,
that,
but
sure. Yeah, at least something temporary where people know where to turn. Google Maps takes them up a little bit and takes them down the power line, and that's not a very safe way to go.
You would think you'd follow the plowed path.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. But looks like there's been a few people fishing. Haven't heard any reports yet, but today would be a nice day to be out there.
Yeah, today and tomorrow.
Yep. Anything else?
All right,
Okay.
appears there's nothing else.
All right, thank you. Have a good week. See you, John.
Yep, thanks, Corey. All right. Welcome, new director.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. First item, under Human Services, I got a feeling this one got placed here by our Mr. Administrator. I do remember the email on it. It's a board that the North Country Community Health Board, Joint Powers, Brian Office, former director Brian Office used to sit as a board member on here. They did reach out shortly after his resignation to see who was going to fill that, and didn't want it filled until there was a formal director put in place. So being that it needs, I believe it needs a renewal and an approval to move on, and an appointee to that open position. Here it is today. So I don't know, I believe Ted's on it.
Yeah.
Do we need, I mean, I certainly will accept that appointee if that's what we're looking for. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's been obviously Brian, but I read it quite a while ago. It has to be a licensed health professional, I think, is something, the terminology. I can't remember exactly what it is, but.
Okay.
So, and Brian and I had talked because of Brian's schedule, sometimes he couldn't make it, so we talked about if there would be a better alternate or something like that.
Sure. So, maybe best to keep it open at this point. I'll look for the proper, make sure we have the proper person on that board. If it in fact is me or someone else, we should be able to have that resolved here in the next 2 weeks, I think.
Well, when I look at this, so Ted, it says one member from each county should be a health provider, but they don't have a definition. You have any thoughts since you're on the board?
I like their input, because I'm not a health professional.
I don't recall, I'm the alternate for the board, so,
Oh.
but I don't recall the mix of the other individuals that were there at the meeting I attended.
Well, of course,
County commissioners were there, but other
and
than that.
Tori was at the last one too.
I'm just a little confused, how is Brian a health provider?
Good question.
Yeah.
There's a supervisor meeting this afternoon, and Human Services will resolve this and make a recommendation and
Okay.
bring it to the organizational meeting in January.
Yeah, I'm not for or against, I'm just,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
okay.
Okay, so we will wait for that. So we'll move on to Region 2.
Yeah. So our second item today, we have our adult mental health joint powers agreement that's up for a renewal. We did have some language changes within it, just to add some supporting language around the crisis response services, and to kind of better explain those changes. I did bring Kelsey Firehammer, our adult mental health Region 2 coordinator, with us. She can kind of explain the language that we changed, and then we'll answer any questions from there.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Kelsey Firehammer. Yes, so it's mostly just language changes to add in that crisis response services. So that is an additional grant that this joint powers would be managing. It would be no change in like staffing or anything like that. I would just be taking on that management role. It is very common for the Adult Mental Health Initiative to also manage those crisis response services, as it's a very similar process. And so we are just kind of following along with several other regions throughout the state who have this arrangement. And so we made the decision to update the language to include that in the joint powers agreement so that we can officially work on both service provisions at the same, in the same meeting, just to help with efficiency.
Okay. I guess maybe in the future, if changes to these, if you could redline,
Yeah.
so that it's easy for us to
Okay.
key in on the things that are changed or added, so that we can focus on those things and whatnot, but, yeah, so we're looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Right, thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
This is Ted, I'll second.
Thank you, Ted. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the sheriff's items.
Corey, I'm just curious because of the awards today,
Yes,
what did you start out as in Hubbard County?
deputy sheriff.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I figured.
Yeah, 1990.
I remember you from days way back when.
Did I pull you over?
No, it wasn't a bad
It wasn't
encounter.
like that.
No,
Okay.
no, nothing like that.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I know just when I started, it was kind of funny because I would always get the sheriff's old squad, and I remember there was mice living in the trunk. It was we used to buy used squads back in the day, and yeah, it was a different era back then. Yeah, I think we had four deputies, I believe, and it was just different. Yeah, different. Not worse. Just
Times have
different.
changed, but not always for the better.
In the back of the truck then too?
Huge, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we would buy our equipment from the state patrol. It would be their used stuff that they,
Still got a few of those laying around
I wouldn't doubt
in
it.
a pile up in the building.
Yep, I bet. Yeah, and communications, has certainly come so far. I mean, it's so sophisticated now and changing. We're getting word that there's something bigger and better coming out, which I'm sure has a price tag, which
Oh, yeah.
we won't even think about right now, so. The first thing I want to bring up, it's not on the agenda, but I want to introduce you to somebody who you all know, but after 10 months of extensive training on the federal side of this, Troy Christensen, our EM, is a certified emergency manager. And the classes that he took was never ending, and he did it in under a year, which is fantastic. But he has accomplished a lot of things. Our emergency operations plan has been brought up to date, which was an extensive document and took so much work, but it was much needed, and he was able to tackle that. And yeah, so I just wanted to bring you up to date, and Troy can maybe comment a little bit on maybe the training or whatever he'd like to say just briefly on that, so.
No, yeah, the training was, like Corey said, pretty extensive. Thankfully, I had quite a bit of it, the prerequisites done coming into the position. So along with the prerequisites and that, yeah, it was quite extensive. I'm glad I'm done with it. And it's a good accomplishment. I mean, I've learned, in the state of Minnesota right now, there's still a very large percentage of EMs that are not, certified. So with the stipulations that the federal government came out with our grant monies that are received, all of them are working towards it now, but there was a lot of EMs throughout the state out of the 87 counties that weren't certified. So no, it's an accomplishment I'm proud that I achieved and have done with. So a lot went on in this first year, or less than a year. Like Corey indicated, the EOP was a pretty good or a large undertaking, along with emergency action plan training for the county. I developed that as well, and that's rolling out right now as we speak. And then every January, all of our employees will take a pretty efficient training class online that I developed. It took a long time, but I got it done, so they'll get that done here in January. I did just speak to the state last week. I'm hoping that this week we may see, or real soon, a check coming in for the highway department for reimbursement on storm damages. And then natural resources would be next. So out of all of our entities, townships, and county entities, The highway department and natural resources are the only ones that have made their official submissions to the state for reimbursement. Hubbard County's probably sitting at well over $600,000 in damages between all the entities that will be submitted for reimbursement. So at this point, it did stay at the 75% state level. We have actually blown past the federal level after the state came and certified our damages. So, I mean, when it comes to this storm, I want to say that now the state as a whole is well over 13 million in damages. So Bemidji and Beltrami County actually ended up going over the 10.7 themselves. But that's kind of where we're at. Hopefully, I've been in communication with Lake Hattie. I think they're about ready to pay. All these entities actually have to show proof that they've actually paid for, the debris management or, rebuilding their roads if there were damages prior to getting reimbursed. So there's where the little bit of lag time comes in. I know, like, I just spoke with Lake Hattie. They're looking at getting their distribution money from the county in January of next year, and then they'll be paying a very large bill and then submitting themselves as well. So
Troy was a big resource for these townships. You look at a lot of rural Minnesota townships, they don't deal with this every day, so they have to reach out to somebody, and the EM is a good resource. And I know Troy spent a lot of time with different townships going over, procedures and what to do and what you're eligible to do. And so we're very appreciative of that as well, so.
Troy, what's the deadline to submit expenses?
1 year from the date that the governor made the declaration. So I think we're looking at August 12th, right around in that date, 11/12, I think is where the governor made the signature. So they'll have till August of next year. And all of them are aware of that. So our biggest two entities in Hubbard County is Varden Township. I mean, Varden Township is, they're gonna approach, upwards, maybe even near of $200,000 in what they spent. They're well over 100, and it could approach that. And then the second leading one is, for us, is Itasca Mantrap. They were at around 150,000. So, but they have to replace a line, so that's what happened with them. And their damage was down here by Portage Lake with that storm. So they had 2.5 miles of a line on the north side of Portage Lake, I believe the north side, that they had to replace. So that was $148,000 just for 2.3 miles, I believe it was, to replace. But it was that line had been spliced so many times that it was time to replace it. So
Did they dig it in underground, or did they leave it?
they haven't replaced it yet. So yeah, no. My assumption is they'll get that done this spring, and I don't know what they'll end up doing, if they'll go underline or keep it above line. So
Troy, with your certification, I imagine you have annual continuing ed credits to stay certified or not?
we don't currently. I mean, that is something that the state, there's a lot of chatter about right now with the emergency management career, and wages and salaries. So there's a lot of talk at the federal level, and then the state level at looking at doing that. There is some requirements with our grant that specifically does pertain around training, drills, in that sense, but no continuing education. I do see maybe something in the future coming out, but it would be the state that would lead that.
The reason I ask is, the minimum training we took, it's not easy stuff. And to stay proficient at it, you have to touch it quite often, or you won't maintain proficiency at it. And Beltrami's a perfect example of why it's needed. I mean, Chris had his hands full.
Yes, he did.
That is probable, and you have to be ready for it. And so I'm glad you did it, and just stay proficient at it.
Yeah, even refreshers would be
Yeah,
nice,
'cause
if the
it's-
state or the feds would offer
It
that
can go sideways
opportunity,
in a hurry if you're.
and
if you don't
updates to
stay
any
proficient at it.
changes. Yeah.
One thing that really helped me, and this is 100% very, very true, coming in and having to update that EOP, I was to the point where in June, where I had it for the most part updated. And that actually gave me the background, and then the storm happened, and I was very well prepared because of the time I spent in that emergency operation plan. That is a reality. I mean, that really, really, really helped me. But I have learned, I mean, we're going through, so every 4 years is a different process for all emergency managers in the state when it comes to reviewing their emergency operation plans. One thing that I did learn with us, and I'm learning that it's even the case with other entities, you know, you go through an evaluation of that emergency operation plan, and there's recommendations for changes, and to be honest with you, they don't get done. So this year, Hubbard County is in a peer review. So every 4 years, it's a different review. This year for Hubbard County, it's a peer review. So I'm reviewing Polk County and Clay counties, and they're reviewing Hubbard counties. Well, guess what? Clay counties is just as outdated. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but is outdated and very similar to Hummer counties. You know, and and then I've also looked through, you know, Hubbard counties in updating ours. There was recommendation years back, you know, that were identified, and none of them were done. So that's a common occurrence I'm seeing, where, you know, they don't spend the time doing it. So, I mean, Hubbard's is updated. I think next year's is the county board review here, so you all are gonna have to do signatures again, but the reality is the update isn't gonna be huge. My plan is to look at it every January, so, and I already let the fire chiefs know, so I'll send out all the annexes in January for a just, hey, look at it, does this really still look good to you? Outside of our resource manual, I don't see a lot that's gonna need to be updated this year, but that resource guide is something that somebody needs to be in definitely on an annual, if not a biannual basis, and updating it.
So with the storm up there, did you learn anything new that led to some changes too?
I did learn something new, like the $4,000 minimum. I was not aware that, you know, an entity has to have a minimum of 4,000 damages, to submit, you know, for reimbursement. I also learned, you know, verbiage, is important. So, I mean, there's a way that you wanna write, you know, when it comes to certain damages. So, and Corey is right, I've also learned that, you know, some of our townships, they don't deal with this, township supervisors, I mean, you know, and they come into it, with no understanding whatsoever. One thing I do hope that is ready, Jack, with GIS, has worked on it and it's there. Survey 123, if you're familiar with it at all, is a great resource, that's in coalition with GIS, and our mapping system, is a phenomenal way, and a resource to use for noting damages when it comes to storms. So Cass County currently uses it extensively, and if you all remember, St. Louis County used it really, really well. Remember the fires, and then they had that map up where all the citizens can go and look at the map, and it would tell them when roads were open and all that. That is, you know, a GIS system in Survey 123 working like it can. So our system is ready, that overlay is there. Jack's built it. Him and I just now need to, this winter, early winter, go out and test it. So just go out to an intersection, take some pictures, and that's what it all is, and then load it into the system and see what it looks like. So next year I will be doing training at least twice a year with all the townships or stakeholders that could be impacted by storms, and hopefully pushing them to use the Survey 123.
you might think about Bemidji there, you know, one of the big things there was where do you put all the debris?
Yep.
And identifying places that strategically make sense so that you know what to do right away instead of, I mean, that takes time all of a sudden in the heat of the event to try and find property to put this stuff.
And that happened a little bit
If you
here.
identify that early, you would know.
Happened a little bit here up in Farton Township, and Ted was involved with that. So that did happen there. I mean, they ran out right away, and then Farton Township was scrambling and looking for a piece of property. One other thing that was learned by Beltrami County and us too, and I don't know how extensive, but it's something to think about when it came to debris management. There was some national resources that come in that are here to help, you know, our private citizens that may struggle with, you know, removing trees and debris. That we in Hubbard County were not able to use and utilize. Only the city of Bemidji was, and even in Beltrami County as a whole, they had 2 townships. The only way that you can utilize those resources is if the counties or townships have a policy in place from debris management where they will pick the debris up as part of their debris management from the roadside. Because these national resources that come in don't have the resources to haul that debris, but they can cut it up and stack it. So that was a big lesson learned for Beltrami County. And if any of you, a couple of you commissioners might have been reached out, you know, to by some frustrated citizens that were, you know, in a little bit of a pickle in that sense. So we just, they weren't able to help our citizens out for that reason. So I don't know that, it's something to think about. You know, all the jurisdictions down in the south with hurricanes and whatnot, their debris management has all that written in where that is on the onus of, you know, the jurisdictions. So cities, townships, and counties where they do that debris management for that specific reason. So, but it's a cost.
Yeah.
I mean, I did talk to, you know, Andrea when this happened. I mean, if the county would have to pick up all that debris off the roadway and bring it somewhere, you know, that's a big expense.
But in a large scale thing like that too, you can't have every township doing that and having a debris pile all over the county. And in every township, you'd want just a couple central, properly strategically located places for everybody to bring their stuff.
And they did do that in Bemidji. I mean, they had 3 different places they were going at once. I mean, they borrowed ours and then, you know, our chopper and had that behind the target, and they had 2 other places going. So they specifically did, you know, we had our northern one. But Farden Township had two places where that was a nice resource for all their citizens, where people that lived in Farden, you know, could bring their debris to.
Yeah.
And I know Farden was looking at, and this is why Farden's might go up, Farden was gonna be looking at doing all of their chipping as well with most of their debris versus burning. So that's an added expense that they were gonna have. And same thing with Josh with the counties from solid waste, that may grow too, because I know that our county solid waste is gonna have some chipping as well. That'll add to theirs. So those are all lessons that were learned, yes.
And I just want to say thank you to Troy. You're a great resource for the townships and other people to contact, and I appreciate you helping them out when you could, and educating all of us in the sense too, to go to a new hire, then all of a sudden get thrown into the fire like that. I think you performed very well. I had very few complaints, and those that it did, to me it was just like, well, I've been taking some of the training too, and I don't know an answer to that yet too, but we're working through it, and we did. So I appreciate your help on all that.
Thank you.
And Troy is still learning, but he is so willing to dig for answers if he doesn't have them immediately, and been very, very appreciative of that, very impressed, so.
I guess it's kind of good you don't have all that experience, because then we would be having disasters one right after another to gain the experience, but it was muchly appreciated.
No, I was definitely learning, and, you know, like, I think it's Shar, or one of you mentioned, like Chris, or I think it was Dave. I mean, this was a huge learning curve for Chris. So, and Chris did a good job. Chris got a pretty good background when it comes to it, but this was a very, very stressful situation for him, yes, very much so.
So Troy, when you were also talking about the counties, are kind of behind on updating, I'm wondering, because you're our first full-time, if a lot of counties, this position is part-time, and so the intentions are good, but you just never get around to doing.
It is like Clay County, so Clay County, I seen that one, so Clay County is similar to what Hubbard County, they have a law enforcement officer that does it and just doesn't have the time to designate to it, so, and it was extensive, I mean, Corey's not wrong, and I'm not trying to say it wasn't, I mean, updating that EOP was very, very, very extensive, so, and I'm not saying it's perfect at this point, I mean, it's, very workable right now, but I'm not done. I mean, that's something that has to be looked at. At least now I can look at, an annex here or there, spending time in and doing some things with that rather than the whole EOP. That was quite an update.
Well, it's wonderful to have you as a resource. I think we've all been on township boards, and you're right, that's not something that township boards, they deal with it so rarely that to know what to do it's nice to have you as a resource.
All right, thanks, Troy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Were there any of the items on my agenda handled under the consent, or no?
No.
No, okay. All right, first thing on my item that I do have is requesting a resolution authorizing the execution of the agreement for our off-highway vehicle or ATV safety grant. Like usual, these are a 2-year grant. This period is 2026 and 27. It's for overtime, for enforcement, and also for expenses and anything we would buy to upgrade the machine or fuel or whatever. But it is in the amount of $14,358, so we're requesting a resolution on that.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Ted.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, item 10B, very similar. It would be looking for a resolution for the snowmobile safety enforcement grant. This same thing, 2-year period. This is actually for July 1 of 25 through June 30th of 27. Again, it's for enforcement, overtime, and expenses. 2-year grant is for $9,383.82, and looking for a resolution in support of that.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ted. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right.
Does all the grant money come from the state then?
Yes.
Okay.
Our boating one, we do get, there's federal dollars in that one,
I
but,
seem to remember that.
yeah, that's
Okay.
the boating.
Thank you.
Yep. 10C, this is an annual thing that we've been doing for years. It's a purchase of service agreement between Hubbard County and the Lakes Area Dive Team, which is a 3-county partnership, Hubbard, Beltrami, and Cass. The annual amount that we have contributed is $5,000. And, hopefully we don't need them, but when we have needed them, it's been great. And what they do, as some of you probably already know, but if we have a drowning, we're looking at body recovery. We've used them for evidence recovery, where they've actually, located firearms in the lake, used in homicide. It's priceless. We can't do a search, underwater without them. And they have top-notch equipment, and we've done this for many years, so I'm looking for approval for that.
I'm kind of surprised that it's the same amount, because it's been that for a long time. And I've seen their operation on Third Crow Wing one time.
Yeah.
They've spent a lot of time at it.
Yep, and this isn't something, that they bill us. It's kind of been an understanding for each county, to help out financially. What can you do? And I've been the sheriff for, I'll be starting 16 years, and it's been this amount every year. It's never been a negotiation as far as more or less or anything, and it's our part to contribute, towards them, so I think it's very fair. it just is.
And they must get funding from other sources besides the counties too,
Yeah, they write grants.
because they've done significant equipment updates over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cass County, being that they're based there, is, I would say, probably their main supporter. In fact, Cass may very well own, some of that
Yeah,
equipment
yeah, that's
direct.
true.
I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. But they have top-notch equipment.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to have them. We could not, have our own divers, it's not feasible, and we don't use them every year, but there's some years we might use them two or three times, but they're worth the money, I'm just saying.
I'll move to approve, and I have a comment, because I know a couple of the divers who told me that if you go through the ice, you will not be able to see the hole. Everything is gray.
I have a cousin who has been on this team. I don't know if he still is, but yeah, he's a diver.
Yep, yeah, and they ice dive, they have all the cold water, diving equipment and, recovery, it's what they do, and they're well-trained and, they, very good service.
Right, so Shar made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion carried.
The last item I have in 10D, I just really briefly want to, point out some things prior to the board setting salaries today. I just wanted to bring a few things to your attention, in regards to the sheriff's salary in particular. As you know, the county's policy, where we have 9 surrounding counties that you compare to, in salaries. And, obviously the sheriff's salary should be no different. But when you look at that, and I've provided, documentation in your packet, currently in, 2025, Hubbard County sheriff's salary is $12,000 below average of the state average for all the sheriffs. And of the 9 comparison counties that Hubbard County is comparing to, it's a little over $11,000 below that average. And obviously, when you look at, today, I believe you're gonna do it, when you set the 2026 salaries, those salaries, that were $11,000 and $12,000 below, they're gonna go up probably another 4% as well. So it's just a few things I'm asking the board to take into consideration as you set a salary. And in your packet, I outlined a few things that I'm hoping that you'll, read and at least consider. So I'm not throwing any hard and fast number out at the board, because I've never done that. As a sheriff, I feel very fortunate to be where I'm at and to have the job that I do. I'm not here to, even though I'm allowed by statute to negotiate with the board every year, I'm not here to do that. I'm just hoping that you'll consider a few things as you establish things here shortly. So if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, that's the only thing I have.
Well, it's really hard to compare apples to apples with the departments, with the size of the obligations, the square miles covered, the population. Then we also need to consider the tax base of the county. What is the stomach people have to support increased costs?
Well, these are the counties that Hubbard County has
Yep.
chose to
Yep.
compare to.
Yep.
And you
No,
do
I
it,
realize
you
that.
do it for all your employees.
Yep.
And I think the elected shouldn't be any different than that.
Yeah, I can understand that rationale, yeah. I just don't know where, because we've had conversations, well, I had a little conversation with Jeff before the meeting, but the surrounding counties are having issues with their budgets, their numbers, their salaries that they're paying out. And the fear that a lot of those counties have is that you just keep raising the bar and we have to try to keep up. So it punishes all of the taxpayers in the region, not just the people in that county, because everybody tries to keep up. That's kind of where this I don't know if I was really in favor of this policy or not. I know we want to have quality individuals in positions that are key, but where do we stop? And if you choose not to run again, how are we gonna negotiate a new wage or a new salary, I should say, for a new sheriff? Where are we gonna start? Where are we gonna stop? And the same thing with county attorney. We need to try to figure out, you gotta pay someone adequately, but we also need to consider what our taxpayers are willing to support. So I guess that's where.
And we know everybody's been impacted by inflation, but so has the county. So has every other entity that exists in the world. And one of the biggest drivers that causes inflation to continue is salaries. So at some point in time, they have to slow down or level off for a little while so things catch up to more normal inflation rates. Otherwise, we keep feeding the beast. And so that's the struggle most of the counties are probably having right now. I know we're having it with this budget year because it's a negotiation year and everybody wants to, have a little help with inflation. The only option we have to help us with inflation is increasing the levy, and we are getting pushback big time from taxpayers that this is getting upside down or too burdensome. So we're trying to weigh all that, and it's pretty tough.
And budget controls, expenditures, overtimes, things like that. We really need to be more conscious of what we're doing as a board and trying to control those factors. We certainly don't want to cut into any individuals from employment. That's nowhere near what our goal would ever be. But we want to provide a quality service at a reasonable, cost-effective manner. That's the biggest thing. So.
And then we have the fear of what's going to happen at the state here in the next budget cycle. I mean, if we do what everybody wants, then we could be forced with cutting later on. And I don't think we want to go down that road. I'd rather just try to be prudent and reasonable, and be a little proactive and not overdoing it so that we're not in a position where we have to cut people.
Well, and I'm certainly not asking the board to overdo anything. I'm simply saying that you have a policy for your employees. I don't know if it passed unanimously or what, but the county board has a policy of what you do. Your policy is to be within 5% below to 5% above the average of those 9 comparative counties. Alls I'm asking is that it's not unreasonable to treat your elected officials the same as you treat your employees.
Yeah.
That's all I'm pointing out.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just, I'm looking at the policy and the conditions of the economy, and I'm not so sure the policy has to apply at every waking moment in time. It is a policy that is a goal to achieve and be there as often as you can be, but not necessarily every waking moment of every day of the year. It might take time to get it back in where it belongs to fit the policy.
When we had our last District 2 meeting in Bemidji, that was a real concern in what Steve said. The commissioners from every county are saying, when does this stop? Because it's not only the county levy, then there's the school levy, then there's the township levy, then there's the city levy. And so people are frustrated because they're getting to the point they don't know how they're gonna pay.
Now, if we don't slow pay, we have to cut services or people.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate the information.
Yes.
I mean, we don't
Yeah.
have that data readily available to us
Right.
on a regular basis, so it's just nice to be able to look at it and say, oh, okay, all right.
And this isn't, commissioners around the area questioning this as a whole. It's not, it has nothing to do with just this position.
Right.
It's like, how much longer can we afford to just keep going up?
All right, that's all I have.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
Gary.
Yep.
All right, Eric.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
apologies for not being able to be here for the recognition. I got a personal family medical thing that popped up this morning.
Well, we thank you for your 20 years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do remember when you came.
So I've got one item for the board this morning, and that is to ask that the board entertain and approve an increase in the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment per diem amount that they receive. The amount hasn't been adjusted since January 1st of 2020. And our Planning Commission Board of Adjustment, as I mentioned in my report, fields a higher than typical workload with variances, conditional use permits, plat applications. And I've got 3 of the 5 that are working folk. So in particular with their lot view days occurring during a work day, they have to take off a day of work typically to attend those lot views. There's also a lot of work that goes into preparing for the meetings with reading through applications and giving them due consideration, which I feel the members do an excellent job of being very conscientious. A lot of them work their personal schedules around the meeting and lot view dates so that they can be sure to be here. So with our recent adjustments to fees for the various applications that the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment acts upon, those fees will cover what I'm proposing for a per diem increase. And my hope is by adjusting the increase, it acts as a thank you to the current membership, and also would be an incentive if and when we ever have vacancies that we need to fill, that it doesn't have that be an issue for someone possibly declining the opportunity to serve. So with that, what I've suggested is increasing the per diem from 180 per meeting in lot view to 200. And then for the board chair, this is per some of the feedback I've received from the members themselves. There's more work that goes into being the chair, as most of you that have served as county board chair know. So slight increase for the chair to not have that be a disincentive for when they decide internally who's going to serve as a chair for a particular year.
I remember when I was on the Board of Adjustment and the times when I was chair of that board and there was a contentious meeting, I thought to myself, you know, this is a lot of extra stress here. I ought to get paid more for this. So I'm not against it.
Thank you.
I actually, Eric, I don't even know if you know this, but the District 2 person is resigning. And I think all of us see the need to get younger people involved in government if they're interested, and I have someone younger, under the age of 50. Yes.
Congratulations.
That is really interested in this board, and I support this, because taking one day off a month for 12 months out of the year is asking a lot, and so I will move to approve the increase.
Great. Thank you, Shar.
I know that when I was on the planning commission, I had used my vacation days.
Yeah.
But I said at the time that I felt like I was on vacation when I was with you guys, so it's, I'm not really opposed to the increase. The one thing I want to point out with the chair, we had talked about that at other meetings and felt that the chair, since we rotate, that we weren't going to give the chair an extra bump. And I guess I'm kind of feeling that same way here. If the planning commission, if they rotate chairmanships every year, I guess it's just somebody's turn to be that much more responsible in that. But that's
I'm not sure, they don't necessarily rotate every year, do they?
No,
No.
we have some that are more comfortable doing that than others, and so then it ends up falling on not the whole, and after a while they're like, I'd really prefer not, and so this would just be a little way of making that be a non-issue, hopefully. But I understand your point, Ted.
And Ted, I do support that for the county board,
County
because we
board,
do
yeah.
rotate.
Yeah.
We do
Yeah.
pick up, but this board does not necessarily rotate. And
Okay.
it's like they can a lot of times get a lot more people coming to them than what we do here. I mean,
Angry people.
yeah, angry people, yeah.
All right, so Shar moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I had.
All right, we'll move on to administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I've mentioned for the last couple of meetings, when we set the preliminary levy at the 7%, that was the number that I thought we could get to carry us through for this year. We've identified that we're still going to be using some amount of fund balance to meet that goal, and that we have the capacity to do that. And hopefully we find some efficiencies through the course of the year to minimize that. At your request, I did not adjust the numbers to reflect the 2% that we typically don't spend on wages because of vacant positions. So we are budgeting at 100%, and we'll see that. But my recommendation is to support the final levy and budget for 2026 of $61,615,104 and a levy of $22.9 million. Now, I want to make just a couple of comments on the sheriff's comments. One, our policy is not that we match 1-to-1, that we would compare an individual salary against the 9 surrounding counties. We compare the chart, the grid, for the range. And so the policy doesn't have anything to do with an individual person. When I first got here, I had an agreement with the attorney and the sheriff that we would put them essentially on the scale, on the grid, and that they would then move up with a COLA and a step increase as long as they weren't at the top of the range. And that's been the case. We've had conversations. We don't want this to become a Hennepin County where we have a contentious issue between the sheriff and the board, and we don't want that. I can certainly appreciate Corey's coming in here and the numbers that he's presented, but they're the actual pay for the sheriffs, right? And we're usually measure the grid, and not every county puts them on a grid. We by statute have to set the wage for the sheriff for the next year. What I will say is this is reflective of grade 24, step 9, and because of the adjustment that we made in October, he was at step 10, and now he's back to step 9 because we moved that grade up. That the top of the grade would be $150,607.44. I just throw that number out. If you had a number in mind, if you want to approve it like this, approve it like this. If you want to approve a different number based on his comments, that's the one I would recommend, would be to move him from step 9 to step 10, which is a 3% step increase from step 9.
Well, I think the agreement, the verbal kind of agreement that you have had with both elected offices that are here, I think that's, agreeable upon, and this number reflects that?
This number is consistent with what we've done the last several years, as is our treatment with the commissioners, that we've adjusted that annual salary by the anticipated COLA for the next year without having a conversation, recognizing that cost of living goes up for everybody. So the only thing that didn't change is the per diem. We typically don't change that on an annual basis. We change that every few years when we can change it to another round number. So these numbers are reflective of the current agreements that we have or understandings that we have in place. That notwithstanding, we have been putting this resolution for the budget and all these fees and those salaries into a single combined resolution since I've been here. So if there aren't any questions or changes, what I'd be looking for is one motion to approve the resolution.
I have a question for the public. Could you explain the change from step 10 to moving down to step 9?
Yeah, when we made the adjustments to the leadership position, step 21 and above, those got bumped up an amount, and people were moved to the step at or above their current pay. So in some cases, typically, in every circumstances, the leadership positions actually got about an 0.8% increase in October from that. But many of them moved down a step, which gave them opportunity. We increased the top of the scale for steps 21 through 27, which meant that our scale is competitive to the market, but we didn't move our individual members to that point. And if I'm not mistaken, it was 0.8 or 0.86 is what almost everybody went up by that adjustment. The real adjustment is the fact that they have more steps to completion, that their max pay based on that grid has gone up.
Thank you, Jeff.
In case everybody didn't do the math for the sheriff's salary, at 146, that's a 7% increase over the current amount of 132 something.
And that number is based on the 3% step increase. That's the difference between the steps, and our anticipated 4% increase for COLA for 2026. So that's how that number is calculated. And it is 7%, and it's.
I guess this isn't a 2026 issue, but 2027. Both offices are up for election. Where are we going to start with a salary at that point in time then? Are we going to use this existing number then and go from there?
We will use the scale.
Okay.
When we will negotiate with those two winners in November, the same as we would with the department manager when they come in, based on their previous experience in the role.
Because I know whoever's running for an office would like to know, oh, well, how am I compensated? What's that going to be?
And what I can share with anybody before they run would be the grid that we're using for those two offices. That's the amount of information that I have. That'd be the same I could offer when we interview for the human resource director. Here's the min and max for that position, and we'd place you on that scale based on your previous experience that you can bring to this position. And then you guys will have to essentially set the wage for 2027. So yes, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. B, we have our pay grid to refer back to, and if we need to do some looking, I know those two positions are two positions that have been subject to market challenges, the same as the highway engineer has been subject to highway challenges previously. We've got highway engineers north of us that are making more than ours are because they couldn't get anybody to take the position.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Any more discussion? Questions? All right, so is there a motion?
I'll move to approve this final budget, levy, salary, and per diems as it's written.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Dave. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
I just have one additional update. One question about just want to confirm that at this point, nobody's planning on attending the AMC Nuts and Bolts Technical Days in January?
No, I was going to, but I have a conflict, so
Okay.
I canceled that.
I would only go if one of you was going.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that 3-day break from a break so I can stay in the office. And then just a reminder that we have Human Resource Director interviews this week on Thursday and Friday, and Commissioner De La Hunt is going to be on that interview panel. We also have Maria Shepard from Property Records is going to be part of that interview committee. So hopefully if we have a consensus and a clear choice for that, we can get somebody in the hiring process quickly.
How many candidates?
There were 11 applicants. We scheduled interviews with 6, or we offered interviews to 6, and we scheduled interviews with 5.
Okay.
So I think that we will have a good opportunity to review some competitive candidates.
Okay. Committee reports. Does anybody care to start?
I'll
or
start.
Is there anything?
I was gone, I don't have any.
Mine's pretty short
It's a
too.
good way to start.
Decided doing interviews and that had a Northwest Regional Radio Board meeting, and Hubbard County's updating the amount of talk groups it has and the amount of radio IDs to future-proof itself a little bit better. So not a big major change. It was approved, no problems there. That's really most of it. Didn't catch AMCs, so just the interviews. Busy week this week, the last set.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot. I did attend AMC, or MRC, down in Bloomington. There was talk of the land use issue, of course, and so forth. But other than that, there wasn't anything significant that came up at MRC. We did have a legislator there. He was a Democrat. He did get kind of hammered a little hard with the question and answer period. I think he may have grown an appreciation for what the rural counties' ideas are and their thoughts on things.
Was he from the metro?
Yes, he was. Yep. So he was just west of the metro. I'm sorry, just east of the metro, Washington County. So in that area. So it was a good interchange, or a good exchange. But of course, we didn't solve any of the world's problems. Other than that, yeah, AMC. I think there were some very good sessions, breakout sessions. I attended as many as I could, as I had time for. I think our ambulance session went pretty well, I think. And I think Jeff had said he had got positive comments about the presentation and so forth, so.
From commissioners, from everybody there, even from people that were there representing businesses that were sitting in on that session, so. And I think that the commissioner roundtable did a really good job of conveying the public process in going through something like that.
And that's pretty much all I had.
My turn? Yeah, yesterday I had an SWCD meeting, which is probably a week earlier than they normally do. They wanted to move it Christmas. So, that was only 2.5 weeks after the last one, so there wasn't a whole lot that to have. Maybe one significant item is Heidi. I'm not sure what district she's in. I think it's District 1 for the supervisors. She's resigning at the end of this year, so there's going to be that opening. I don't know. I think they're going to do the election process, I'm not sure yet. I don't know if they can appoint for it or what.
Well, their districts don't line with our district.
No, they don't align with our district, so.
Yeah, and I believe it's an elected.
Yep, it's an elected position, but, they can also appoint, but I don't know if it's similar to the county board where you can only appoint if it's less than a year. Then otherwise you'd have to have a special election. So I'm not sure on that. And then, one thing I mentioned to them yesterday was something that from their AMC Environment and Resource Committee I was on. They did a number of different new platforms, but one that was of interest to them, and maybe of interest to y'all too, would be the wetlands replacement ratio. A new platform was approved by the committee to support the adoption of a 1-to-1 wetland replacement ratio for transportation projects only.
What's the ratio now?
It's 2-to-1.
Okay.
And the intent of 2-to-1, that was a number of years ago, was to catch up on the amount of wetlands that was lost.
Yeah, but they're running out of wetlands now, correct?
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
they've got a, the suitable number, obviously, to want to reduce this, but this will not take away any of the current wetlands, and other projects that are other than transportation projects will still be at the 2-to-1. So that's a new platform for AMC.
And part of that, excuse me, Tom, part of that is due to the minimal amount of impact that happens on a road project. I mean, you're not really taking out 18 acres of a wetland. It's usually small amounts, and a ditch that has cattails in it twice a year that's deemed a wetland. You know, is it feasible to say, okay, well, you need to construct 5 acres over there somewhere because you're taking this 2.5 here for the 2-to-1 ratio? That's why the Transportation Committee also supported a 1-to-1, just because of the impact, and the cost gets quite excessive and expensive, and then the wetland bank gets depleted faster than it would if it was a 1-to-1. So, yeah.
My turn, I guess. Okay, I just had one, Northwestern Minnesota Juvenile Center. It was yesterday morning. We had the executive board meeting. So we basically just went through the financial reports, superintendent expenses, looked at project updates, where they were, what we got, I would say 95% of what we wanted to get done this year done. But the storm, of course, kind of interrupted some of that stuff. So we talked about shifting some to next year. Went over the 2026 meeting calendar and expiring board terms, which my term on the juvenile center expires at the end of this year. And my fellow members of that board wanted to make sure that I was reappointed, and I told them I didn't think that would be an issue, but we would take care of that in January. And then it seems like it's a never-ending policy updates with the state and how they control the DOC and that controls the juvenile centers. Like I say, it seems like it's a continual policy update. And that's all I've got.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the board then? Right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you,
I'll
David.
second.
Ted seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are hereby